All right, I want to talk for a few minutes about the pros and cons of different water bottle styles for backpacking. I'm out here at Fogelzang in Yosemite Wilderness, and I've been wanting to make this video for a long time, but just been putting it off, and I thought, well, this is a beautiful place, so I'll do it here. So when I first started backpacking, I carried 2 Nalgenes. I thought it was really cool because they were colorful and they matched. And when I saw people hiking with disposable water bottles, I thought to myself, like, oh, you're not a serious backpacker. And that's an issue of pride. That's something else. Then I got introduced to what a lot of people carry, which is like a smart water bottle, disposable, of course, but very thin and very lightweight. And then when I started carrying these and I saw people with matching Nalgenes, I just thought, oh, you're a total noob. And then I got into water bags. Actually, I kind of got into these around the same time as these for different reasons, and thought that they were the best thing in the world. And I've kind of come around to realize that each water bottle has its own place. And then the fourth thing that I don't have with me, I don't have a Nalgene with me either, but the fourth thing that I don't have with me is a bladder, where it's kind of a silicone rubbery thing that hangs from your backpack, and then you get a straw. And I had those as well. So I've kind of tried out all 4, and I'm going to try and tell you the pros and cons of each that I've discovered, and then you decide for yourself which one makes the most sense. So start with the Nalgene. I still own Nalgenes. Nalgenes are in some ways the best water bottle ever. They're made out of a high quality plastic that doesn't degrade like this one might. I'm not a chemist, not totally sure on that. And they're almost indestructible, and they have a loop so you can tether them, and but they're just very heavy. And so we use Nalgenes all the time. We use them when we go kayaking. We use them when we go rock climbing. We use them just general use in and out of the car, that kind of stuff. So Nalgenes still have their place in the arsenal of water. They're just quite heavy compared to something else that you're going to carry. You know, water bottles, you know, when you carry, we're going to do like 35 miles out here. You just don't want to carry 2 Nalgenes for 35 miles. Okay, so that's Nalgenes. Next, these guys. Smart water bottles, disposable water bottles are good in many ways. Obviously, one issue is that they're not as durable, so you'll be replacing them occasionally for probably what, $2 a piece versus an Nalgene, which is $9 or $10. So in the long haul, you'll probably spend a little bit more money. And they're not as durable when you're out in the backcountry. So the risk that you drop one or it starts leaking is higher than an Nalgene. And so then you might feel compelled to bring multiple ones or something like that. I have had these leak, mainly by using them as a backcountry bidet where you squeeze them a billion times. But they're very lightweight. They're easy to find anywhere and everywhere. You can get different caps for them. You know, you can get the normal screw-on cap, and then you can get the squirty cap. And then these have what's called the 28 millimeter thread, which is super common for all kinds of accessories, like you know, Sawyer water filters and those sorts of things. So that's why you're going to see lots and lots and lots of hikers using these. And yeah, they're great. Next, the one that I don't have, but I will illustrate with this, is the bladder that hangs from your back, and you get to sip out of it all day long. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan for a couple reasons. First of all, they are, considering the amount of water that they carry for you, they're quite heavy. So they're not a lightweight solution. They are very difficult to dry and get clean again once you get back home. And so unless you're backpacking just like all year round, it's just a real pain to get those things dry again. They, you know, they kind of fold in on themselves. They don't drape open. And so that just becomes a point of contention for me. They start getting slimy inside, and that's really annoying. The other thing that I don't like is when you get to camp and you're hanging out at camp, those bladders are not very nice to drink out of. You know, like this, you know, it's sitting around the campsite and you just grab it and you drink. Those bladders, you know, you kind of gotta, you know, maybe hold them up and sip out of them, or you have this long hose sitting there and this thing here and you're sipping and slurping, but then this thing falls in the dirt. And the whole setup it's really good. Like if you're gonna hike 50 miles a day like Andrew Skirka, you know, then it's nice to just always be sipping as you go. But as soon as you get to camp, they're really not very useful. And they're also not that easy to fill in a lake or a river because of the way the opening is. They have the same issue that the bags have, is that they don't hold their shape. So with this, you put this under the lake and it fills itself. Bladders don't really do that, and these bags don't do that. You have to kind of, sort of swoosh this thing through the water to get it to take on water. The other thing I kind of don't like about the bladders in the back is you don't really know how much water you have left. There's something that's kind of nice about always grabbing the water bottle and like, okay, I'm getting close. But they have their place. I'm not trying to dog them. They're not for me. And the thing that I like about all the other options is when you get back off the backpacking trip, you have a water bottle that's good for kind of every day, and those bags aren't. Okay, so then that leads me kind of to my favorite, which is these, water bottle bags. This one's from Platypus. Not as big of a fan as these from Evernew, and it's really for one reason, and that is this has a tethered cap. It sounds simple. You can even laugh at it if you want, but I've lost this cap before, and I'm sorry, one of my children lost this cap before, and there's no good solution for that. And when you unscrew it, you then basically have to drink with one hand and hold with another hand, or put in your armpit or something to hold it. And when you have trekking poles and a camera and binoculars and the map and compass and headlamp, it's just this little tiny tether is a big deal. And they're basically the same price. So and they use the same thread. So all of the accessories and things like that are interchangeable. So here's what I like about these. They're easy to pack. When you're not using it, they roll up and they take a very small amount of space. Whereas whether this is filled with water or not filled with water, it takes up the same amount of space. Obviously, same as a Nalgene. So that's really nice. Very packable. Obviously, they're very light. They end up being about as light as a smart water bottle or a little lighter. I don't have the measurements on me at the moment, so don't score me on that. The other thing that's nice is we use backpacks from the company Arn, A-R-N. They're from New Zealand, and they have front bags. And so we put this in the front bag, and then we just lean down and sip out of it. And you can sip out of this. You can't really sip out of this because when you try and sip out of this like a straw, you begin to collapse it, and at some point you pull a vacuum on it and it doesn't work anymore. Whereas this, because it's collapsible, because it doesn't hold its shape, you can suck out of it like a straw or a juice box or something like that, and it keeps going. They're obviously not as durable as a Nalgene. That part's pretty obvious. So yeah, we prefer these, and we also use these kind of everyday life when we go on long trips. And we're thinking we want a lot of water, we'll throw water in here, and then at the end you just roll them up and they kind of disappear. So then here's a really cool accessory that we've owned now for about a year that we really like. These are made by Platypus, and on this end you just have a cap, and this can go onto a smart water bottle like this, and it can also go onto these bags, and the Platypus bags, of course. And so what this is nice for is you can basically turn this bag into a bladder, which, as I said, has some advantages. It's nice to drink as you go, although you lose track of how much you have back there. So I did that yesterday. I'm using a climbing bag right now for logistical reasons. So I had this back here, and I had this running up here, and I could sip all day, and that saved me from trying to reach back, and it was just a pain. So this is a really nice solution. It's, versatile. It goes on a lot of different water vessels, water containers. And then what's nice is when you get to camp, you take this off and you put it in your bag and you put this on, and now you have a more camp manageable, camp friendly water bottle versus always sipping out of a straw and it falling in the dirt and all those kinds of things. Yeah, so the other thing that you can do with these bags that I like is you can take a hole punch and you can punch holes in this area, and you can tie them to a tree, and then you can tie this, then you can add like the Platypus quick draw water filter that I own, or a Sawyer squeeze. You can do that on there, and it can become a gravity feed system. Platypus sells dedicated gravity feed systems. They're much heavier. They're more or less only good at gravity feed. They're not good for sipping from as you go, and they're not good at drinking from. And so, one of these almost acts like a normal water bottle, can be paired with this to make a bladder, can be paired with a Sawyer squeeze or a Platypus quick draw to make a gravity feed filtration system. And so they're just more versatile. And I've been using them for 6 or 7 years. I've never had one break or leak or anything like that. So yeah, as I mentioned, and that's what prompted me, I'm about to fill these things with water right now. And again, one of the downsides is to get it filled with water, you have to, specifically a lake where there's no flow, you have to put this in and you have to kind of agitate, you have to basically swish it through the water. It'll probably take 10 times to fill this. And if you backpack in cold weather, sticking your hand and arm down into the water is not fun. That's where in the colder months, I probably would still take this, but I would miss this because as soon as you put this under the water line, it creates a vacuum inside the bottle and it fills itself with water. One solution for that is to take your pot, if you have a pot or a coffee cup, and that's what I've done in the winter, cold weather, is I'll dip my pot and then I'll pour it into here, dip my pot, and I can keep my hands and everything dry. So yeah, those are some pros and cons of the system, or of the water curing systems that I've been trying out for the last 15 years or so. And some of those things are obvious, like durability and cost, and some of those things are a little bit more obscure that you wouldn't necessarily think about unless you'd spend a lot of time in the backcountry. So I hope that's helpful. Last thing, I don't have it with me, but I carry a little backpacker's bidet that you can get from, yeah, would you bring that over? You can get from backpackersbidet.com, I think. And it's basically how I clean my butt. And this thing fits inside of these, and fits inside of this, and fits inside of these. So you get to double your water bottle as a butt cleaner. So anyway, I hope that was helpful. If it wasn't, and you watch 12 minutes of this video and you dislike it, give me a big thumbs down, and just think about how you're spending your time watching videos and then not liking them. And here you go. And then if you did like this, go check out more at andrewskirka.com. I learned a lot from him, or yeah, the guy who did that bidet, Backpacker's Bidet, and get on the backcountry and have a great time. All right, bonus footage for those without imaginations. This is what I'm talking about. Kind of the worst part of this is if it's cold water. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So basically 11. Now, if there's like a brook or a little creek, you can just put the mouth into a stream, it'll fill it up. But in a lake, you're forced to do that. The other downside is that you agitate the water. So in this case, it's fine, but if it's really shallow, you might pull up some sediment. So that's one of the downsides to these, but I think the upsides, the pros outweigh the cons.